Hello everyone. This is not a story for the faint of heart. Today, we will be stepping into the darkness of the most gruesome cases, where evil not only exists, but also leaves bloody and haunting traces. This is Real Gruesome Murder Cases, a series of true stories about murders that made the whole world shudder. If you are ready to face the cold truth and the gruesome corners of humanity, come with me to delve deeper into each case. No junior league. Running away, starting over. It's not as easy as people think. You have to give up everything. Oh, that part's easy. Everyone thinks we are all traceable, that you can't really hide. But, see, everything is tied to your identity, your papers. If you change those, you are a different person. Fingerprints? If they're in the system, if you've ever been fingerprinted, it's a little trickier. But it can be done. Oh, that's right. You're a teacher, so of course you've had background checks. Well, you'll never teach again, so it won't matter. What? I told you, you have to give up everything. When changing identities and dropping off the radar, you have to change what you do. Whatever habits you had, wherever you went, do elsewise. You won't be hanging out in bookstores anymore, and you can't join the junior league in Denver if you were in every junior league of every city you ever lived in. Change your appearance, of course, but even as a brunette, you can't join the local improv group or historical society. That's where they will look for you. Join the Corvette Club and build a persona as an expert in 1972 Flybird Corvette transmission modifications, or whatever might be a car thing that you know nothing about and could care less about right now. You can join the Quilt Club, or the Daughters of the Mayflower, I guess. If the most important thing to you is dropping out, disappearing, disconnecting, and avoiding the consequences of what you did, you have to truly start over. You cannot be the same person, because when they come looking for you, they will look for her. Changing your papers and license and online trail are just technicalities. Harder technicalities, of course, given the internet and government, but just a technicality. But you have to be willing to change. And I'm really not getting that about you. What is the good of posting misleading social media content like faking a trip to France before abandoning it all if you are just going to go to the city you've talked about since you were a kid? Oh, now you're upset? What did you think this would be like? You would change your name from Emma to Emily and go live your exact life somewhere else, just without going to jail? Were you going to get a husband named Jason too? Oh, that was cruel. I'm so sorry. You poor thing, dealing with the consequences of your actions one way or the other. Look, I don't think you are cut out for this. You haven't really thought it through. What? No, I won't return the deposit. I don't know. That puts me at risk if I get you transplanted and then you show up at the first community theater audition and get nabbed. Yes, they will. They will be looking for you. Once they follow the dots back to you, you are a goner. They need someone to pin this on. Look, lady, it's not like you are skipping out on a credit card bill or a boring husband. A flashy murder like this, there will be a manhunt. Your picture will be out. You have to go somewhere you never talked about and have no connection to. Change what you look like. Lay low for a while. And then don't do anything you've ever done before. What kind of life is that? What kind of question is that? A life out of jail, I guess. You know what? We're done. I'm out. If you can't, okay, calm down. Yes, fine, I can still help you. But Jesus, lady, I'm not a psychiatrist. You do this or don't. I don't care. You go home, the back way, please, with your GPS and location off, and call the police and turn yourself in with some kind of sob story, or you give me your license and credit cards and goddamn library card, everything, and take this airline ticket and this ID and catch the 4 p.m. flight to Indianapolis? Well, why not Indianapolis? Have you ever been there before? Well then, that's why. Go home and... No, you can't go home and say goodbye. You haven't heard a word I've said. Get out and dash. Oh, that's better. Good, small bills. At least you listened to one thing I said. Let's see. Yep, that's all of it. You're going through with this then? Give me that. No, the whole purse. You can have back anything that doesn't have your name on it. Take this. You are Sarah Jackson. There's an airline ticket, driver's license, birth certificate, and 1 credit card. Here's the info and PIN for the credit card. Set up an online account. Change the address as soon as you get settled. No passport. You didn't pay me enough to leave the country. In a year, you hear me? Wait a year. You can apply for more credit. You are an orphan and a widow and have no kids. There's a paper with your history and family. Memorize it and destroy it. Do not be found with that. No one keeps around a paper to remind them who their grandparents are. You'll pass a state background check in Indiana, but a federal might get tricky. Try not to get fingerprinted. Yes, you can work. Any job you can fake. Work for cash if you can, but don't draw attention to yourself. Well, just make up a resume that you can do. There's one more service I provide. If you need a reference, call this number. Jenny will set you up. You'll get a number for them to call and get a good reference. That's the only reason to call this number. I can't get you out of any other bullshit. Well, congrats, Sarah. You have 3 hours to get to the airport. Walk about 4 blocks before you catch a cab. No, I don't care. Any direction. No, leave your car. No, you can't take your car to the airport. Are you kidding? They find your car, check cameras and manifests, and it takes them about 5 minutes to figure out Indiana. No, we can't sell it for you. Get everything you need out of it now. Listen, leave anything with your name. Don't take a receipt or Starbucks cup for God's sake. It has to be abandoned. We'll take it out State Route 6. They'll have to dredge the quarry to make sure you didn't off yourself. Oh my God. Yeah, you're welcome, lady. You're all set. You kept about 1,000 cash like I told you, right? Split it up, put it in different places. All right, good luck. Remember, don't catch a cab right out front. Walkaways first. Oh my God, what a piece of work. Jenny, I'll be out. I have a deposit to make. Have Mario take this Corolla out to the quarry, the usual. Her? Nah, she won't make it. I give it about a month. Someone will spot her at a bookstore. Some people just can't handle change. The Last Supper. Surprise party. Murder. Mystery. This is a complete satire, not intended to mock religion. I meant to enter this in. Write about a gallery whose paintings come alive at night. Oops. On the evening of April 6th, 30 AD, chaos ensued during an impromptu farewell dinner party. A hidden underground chamber hosted a jubilant soiree beneath the renowned Louvre Museum. The celebratory evening took a sinister turn as it transformed into a horrifying murder scene. The guests, driven by an overwhelming desire to uncover the culprit among them, were determined to solve the mysterious crime. The night began when the Louvre Gallery's lights faded to black. Mr. Dali flipped the sign on the door, reading closed. Greeting him as he stepped outside was a stunning display of swirling hues. Cobalt blue, incandescent yellow, and verdant green intermingled in the starry sky, resembling confetti. The stars twinkled like a celestial choir, harmonizing with his melodic whistle. Their mystical light illuminated the sky. He followed the otherworldly glow as it led him back home. Unease settled over him as he walked. He suspected he might have left the doors unlocked or the lights on. Behind the museum's closed doors, 3 distorted clocks with persistent memories chimed 7 or 8 times, sounding garbled. The hands of the clock, resembling molten lava, melted across the front desk. The time dissolved and spread across the ornate chairs and marble floor. Across the way, bustling activity filled the refectory of Monastero di San Lorenzo. The atmosphere was a mix of intense excitement and underlying unease, capturing the poignant moment. Fragrant scents of yeast, toasted grains, melted butter, roasted meats, and aromatic herbs wafted through the air, tantalizing and mouth-watering. Shouting in the grand chamber, Andrew exclaimed, "Almost 8!" He fidgeted, holding a torch, and lit the remaining candles on the grand table. "This useless lighter won't work," he exclaimed, slamming it down on the table in frustration. Moonlight streamed through the windows, casting a radiant glow on the refectory. The flickering candles created a serene ambience despite the commotion in the chamber. "To hell with it all," Peter mutters. He opens a bottle of Chianti and starts guzzling it from the lip of the wicker vessel, feeling annoyed. With red-stained lips, Peter exclaims, "This is an absolute catastrophe." John and Philip emerged from the kitchen, coughing and struggling to breathe, while a cloud of smoke engulfed them. The room fell silent. "We still have bread," John says, cowering behind Philip, hoping nothing was flying at his head through the air. A raucous ensued. Bartholomew stomped his foot. "You need to pull yourself together. Guests will arrive at any moment. This night is supposed to be a celebration. Quit fighting like gladiators in the Monera." Thomas and Matthew rushed to the door as the bell chimed to greet their first guest. "Welcome, Mona. It brings me great joy to have you," Thomas said, escorting the introspective and ethereal figure through the door. With an enigmatic smile, hinting at hidden secrets and unspoken feelings, Mona thanked her hosts for the kind invitation. After Mona, guests flooded through the door. Peter appreciated the guests' punctuality because the guest of honor was due to appear soon. The young ladies of Avignon huddled in a corner. Nadira Mbali embodied the fierce spirit of independence by wearing splendid tribal patterns inspired by Africa. Her clothing celebrated her heritage. Isabella Ramos's distinct and striking features drew Nadira into deep conversations. They explored the complexities of womanhood and society's limiting expectations. Isabella's words were sharp and precise, dissecting human emotions with a scalpel. She challenged societal norms and conventions. Sofia Calderon's avant-garde cubist aesthetic captivated guests. Her fragmented and distorted forms shattered conventional ideas of representation. The quirky style invited viewers to critically examine their perceptions of reality, immersing them in an intriguing and thought-provoking experience. Ava Serrano radiated confidence and sensuality. Her unapologetic sexuality defied societal expectations of modesty and control. Ava fearlessly moved her body across the chambers like a dancer. She hobnobbed with guests while challenging preconceived notions of femininity and inviting them to confront their inhibitions. Carmen Reyes emerged while concealing her face with a mask. Her fearless advocacy for women's rights and empowerment was her prime topic of discussion. Against patriarchy, she wielded her words as weapons, her voice as sharp as her wit. In each debate, she advocated for gender equality. Carmen's unwavering commitment to justice and the refusal of silence symbolized strength and resilience. With a mesmerizing display of ethereal beauty, Venus, the goddess of love, revealed her presence. Her allure transcended the limitations of the mortal realm. The enchanting depths of her ocean blue eyes mirrored the boundless compassion and understanding that resided within her soul. As she mingled, she commanded attention with her statuesque figure, which exuded sensuality and strength. A charismatic and enigmatic lad, Adam flirted with Venus by boasting about his creation. The confidence in the mastery of his anatomy and intricate details evoked awe and inspiration in Venus. Adam's charm was undeniable, with piercing blue eyes that held untold stories. He witnessed her captivating charm and inner radiance, which mesmerized him. She offered solace and ignited the flames of passion within his heart. Venus was captivated by his brilliant mind, filled with insatiable curiosity and a humble demeanor. Isabella Fontaine was a ravishing and imaginative woman. Her demeanor enchanted Alessandro Fiore. They bonded over their shared passion for art. As they embraced, their love and desire for each other became apparent with every gentle stroke of her hair. Their passion reflected the love that burns within their hearts, and their souls became forever entwined in the kiss, heard worldwide. The guests surrounded a group of dogs dressed in human clothing, playing poker around a table. The dogs were all engaged in the game when a raven flew to the skylight, warning the guests that their guest of honor was nearing. Peter gathered the guests in the middle of the chamber, and as the doors opened, everyone yelled, "Surprise! Jesus!" Jesus paused, blushing with shock. He relished the moment, his kind eyes reflecting his deep compassion for everyone present. His serene and benevolent face radiated a sense of divine wisdom and love. Long, flowing hair and a well-groomed beard complemented his appearance. He moved across the marble floors elegantly, showcasing his spiritual authority and transcendence, while wearing a modest, billowing garment extending to the ground. After removing the plum cloak draped over his shoulders, he adjusted the sash around his waist. Everyone present was crowded around Jesus, eager to touch the hem of his garment or bask in his presence. When he spoke, he filled the room with awe and reverence. His words carried a weight of profound wisdom and grace. His eyes sparkled with kindness, drawing everyone in. The atmosphere shifted as a sense of peace and hope enveloped the room. Peter gathered the guests around the table, rallying them to make a toast. He held up his goblet and said, "To the man who brings light and love wherever he goes, may he bless all with his presence on the road that he ventures forth on. The Louvre will miss you, Jesus." To everyone's dismay, John and Philip stood and announced that their dinner had gone awry. They'd only be serving bread and butter. James the younger ran around filling everyone's glasses with wine to ease the tension caused by the unexpected change in dinner plans. Eliza Hawthorne stood out among the guests with serene strength and unwavering determination. Her piercing eyes, reminiscent of the golden hues of an autumn sky, mirrored her inner fortitude. Her hair, arranged in a bun, complemented her firm lips. They exuded an air of stoicism and resolve that belied her delicate features. In his convictions, Henry stayed steadfast with a few words. He gazed at the crowd with eyes resembling the roots of an ancient oak tree that shaded their farmhouse. He silently stood beside Eliza as she extended her invitation with effortless grace. She declares, "We propose to share the bounty of our garden, inviting everyone to partake in the fresh vegetables outside in our cart." With his broad shoulders and hands roughened by years of manual labor, Henry showcases his physical prowess. They embodied rugged masculinity and muted strength as he reached for a piece of bread. Eliza's hands, calloused from years of hard work on the family farm, coaxing life from the fertile soil, handed him the warm butter. Laughter and chatter filled the room. Everyone enjoyed the simple meal and each other's company. Wine flowed with the harmonious chatter, celebrating Jesus. Amelia Munch interrupted the chatter by wailing a piercing scream, which reverberated through the refectory like shattering glass. Fear and existential angst etched anxiety across her porcelain skin. Her haunting beauty and piercing green eyes conveyed a profound sense of terror. Everyone gathered around curiously to see a nude woman lying on a couch covered in blood. Judas Iscariot declares that someone among them is the menaced assassin. The group exchanges nervous glances, unsure of whom to trust. Suspicions grow, causing the once warm and inviting atmosphere to turn cold and tense. Iscariot's accusation lingers, casting a shadow over the joyous gathering. With unwavering resolve and dignity, Margaret Whittaker started whistling an eerie tune as she rocked in her chair. Despite facing hardships, she exuded tranquility and grace. Her silver hair was pulled back tight in a bun, and her hands were folded in her lap. Though tired and worn from years of worry, Margaret's eyes sparkled with muted intelligence, as if she knew something. Her calm demeanor drew others to her, commanding their attention. As the evening wore on, whispers of suspicion and curiosity circulated among the guests. Margaret's enigmatic presence had drawn them all in, and unease settled over the room as they awaited her next move. Amelia Monk wailed a piercing scream out of nowhere again. The scream reverberated through the refectory like shattering glass. Fear etched her porcelain skin with anxiety and existential angst. Her haunting beauty and piercing green eyes again convey a profound sense of terror. With a sense of exacerbation, Mona Lisa wonders, what is it now? Her face changes, adorned with a tapestry of emotions that flows with each fleeting moment, captivating all who dared to bask in her presence. Mona Lisa possesses the uncanny ability to cloak her thoughts and feelings in an aura of mystery. Intrigued, all the guests surround her. "The girl with the pearl earring only wears one," stuttered Emma Munch. "Behold, it is right there," she said, pointing to the lifeless woman. Underneath her body, a pearl sparkled, unraveling a clue. Munch's discovery challenged the guests to confront their wildest fears. Amelia epitomized the situation with anxiety and the human condition. She reminded everyone of their shared vulnerabilities in the situation. The need for camaraderie and understanding in this tragic moment was undeniable, urging immediate action. The girl with the pearl earring reached up to cover her bare ear. Her delft was sublime and mysterious. The girl's modest, dark-colored gown and her long chestnut hair exuded strength and resilience. But her piercing blue eyes divulged her guilt, unveiling her hidden desire and rebellion against societal expectations. "Show us your matching earrings," said the bulldog, wearing a top hat and a monocle. A terrier in a tuxedo, a dachshund in a sweater vest, and a golden retriever in a baseball cap chimed in. "Where is your missing trinket, yeah?" They quipped and resumed the game of poker to bet on whodunit. Admitting her guilt, Amelia, the intelligent and keen girl with the opal accessory, takes responsibility. She knew escaping this blunder would be impossible. Her eyes reflect the depth of her inner turmoil and dreams. "Envy clouded my vision, distorting my perception of reality," she cried. At a nearby diner, a police officer was consoling a young boy who had run away from home. Out of nowhere, his walkie-talkie crackled to life, notifying him of a homicide in progress. The officer rushed to the scene, apprehending the girl with the missing pearl earring believed to be involved in the murder. The situation's urgency demanded swift action, and the officer quickly secured the suspect. Jesus blessed her as she repented of her sins and was hauled off to Artemisia Gentileschi prison for high-risk female offenders in Surrey. His compassion grew as he saw the remorse in her eyes, knowing she was just a victim of circumstances. As she left in handcuffs, he committed to visiting her and helping her turn her life around. Amelia looked back at the kind-hearted man, with tears streaming down her face, grateful for his compassion during her darkest moment. She vowed to make amends for her past mistakes and to strive for a better future. With a determined spirit, Jesus watched the girl with the pearl earring disappear out the door, vowing to guide her toward redemption. The scene touched the police officer's heart, sparking a glimmer of hope in his chest. Perhaps the girl's story will have a different ending with the Savior by her side. A sense of unease lingered in Mr. Dolly's mind as he rattled his keys in the museum's front door. He meticulously inspected the premises, ensuring every door was locked and the lights were extinguished. When the last switch flipped, a surprise gasp reverberated through the room. The startled guests scampered, their footsteps echoing in the deserted hall's Book of Hours. Manuscripts are from the devil, I'd been told, but I felt it too, evil emanating out like heat from a fire. I wrapped it in cloth to be safe, tucked it in my satchel, and now I wait. I had a few hours, enough time, I'm sure, before my master discovered my absence and my theft. I drank my beer down to forget the past, to focus on my future, my hope brightening the walls of the dark public house. My eyes followed Evelyn as she moved around me, cleaning up from the night before. Her dark hair pulled back tight showed her pale beauty, and even the dull woolen uniform couldn't diminish her lithe figure. I lifted my head in an attempt to catch her eye, but no, that candle had guttered out, only the smoke of my longing left. When she first came to town, she spoke to me, asked about my work and my master, but her attention had drifted when I said no. Now I was no more than another chair in her way, an obstacle to sweep around. I did this for you, Evelyn, and you won't even look at me? On my own, I see. So be it. Pulling out the cloth-wrapped bundle from my satchel, I carefully placed it on the table. If what Evelyn said was true, this strange item could allow me to finally escape my service, with enough gold to make a new life, free from my bonds. I stared at it, hesitant to touch the elaborate box. Just parchment squeezed tight between wooden boards. How could it hurt me? I had seen it before on my master's shelf, next to an old statue, but gave it no more thought than the worn boots below it. I have no need of such things as paper or written symbols. My only use is for work. Evelyn said a man, demon, had come from Rome searching for these old manuscripts, such as one rumored to be held by my own master. No larger than my two hands together, this small item could be my salvation. The cover creaked open, dust puffed into the air, as if breathing again after ages of suffocation. First one page, then the next blank. My heart leapt into my throat. Could some magic be needed to make the words appear? But then, on the third sheet, an image appeared. A man so bright and real. I touched the page to see if he lived. I understood why Demon wanted this, needed it enough to pay gold for it. The man, his hands raised with blood on his palms, a cut in his ribs, stared at me. A gold circle around his head, a gold cloak over his body. Was this the man whose soul had been caught? Half the page and the next were filled with black marks in dense flowing lines. They seemed to move as I looked over them, as if these lines were fighting to be released from the page. A black dread flowed down my back. Have I released some demon by opening his cage? My blunt and scarred fingers moved along each, following these strange markings. A hand on my shoulder. You did it. I turned to see Evelyn behind me. I hoped you wouldn't. What? My confusion intensified when she looked down into my eyes, deep pools of sadness. If this goes well, I'll have gold. My lips quivered, matching the tremor of my heart. We can leave together. Poor boy. Her hand touched my face. The blaze in her eyes lit a fire in me, illuminating a future better than I could dream. I wish it could be so. Her eyes closed. Yes, if after, meet me outside. I grabbed her hand, kissed her fingers. We'll leave this town together and live free. Evelyn bent down. Her lips met mine, just an instant. Her warm touch an eternity of bliss, sparking lighting through to my toes. Then she looked up at a sound and stepped away. The door stuttered open, and a man spilled in with the morning light. I felt Demon before I could see his face, a cold frost flowing into the room. A narrow stick of a man, his over-large head bobbed on a narrow neck, hair fine, matted to his temples, with a few strips reaching down his jaw. He clutched his cloak to his chest with thin arms, like crooked branches. Glasses perched at the end of his long, pointed nose, a sparrow hanging on for dear life. He moved without effort, as if he floated instead of walked. Demon nodded to Evelyn, waved toward her with 2 fingers. Dark, cold spots of light peered out under heavy brows, eyes like a wild beast with no soul, and I feared him like no other man I had ever met. He smelled of mold and dust, an odor of death that sent the hair on my neck lurching from my body to escape. Long, thin fingers danced on the table, blackened nails clicking against the wood. I had heard of these scribes, men who trapped words on a page with strange magic and a feather. What mysticism did they practice? What knowledge did they deal in beyond my ken? I eyed him warily. That knowledge stuffed too tight, a too full sack could explode, destroying him and anyone around him. Do you have the gold? I whispered, keeping my head low. A cough, dry and hoarse, escaped his lips, like a death rattle. I feared for his health, but at his crooked grin, I recognized it as his laugh. Evelyn brought 2 ceramic cups of black beer, along with a metal platter laden with apples, dried meat, and cheeses. Demon's hand brushed her leg, up to her hip, lingering. I didn't understand how she could stand the touch, but her body stayed still, though her eyes looked away. See, I have the monette. Demon's face fell into a sneer. His words had a strange, foreign lilt that grated on my ears. A cloth bag landed with a heavy clink on the table, the sound of my future. Evelyn had spoken the truth. I suddenly saw our life together, our horses in the green pasture, prancing in front of golden fields of wheat. Evelyn stood at my side, holding a draught of beer for me and my pipe. Our young children laughing around us. I tried to count their little heads. Were there 8 or 10? You have il manoscritto? Demon interrupted. I looked around the empty room before I placed the bundle on the table. I felt lighter having passed it on. His hands paused in midair when the cloth fell away. The old man breathed in, his eyes bright, his back straightening up. His mouth dropped open in pure desire. Demon moved to open the cover. I grabbed his wrist, felt his bones in my hand, his skin cold as ice. Alive, though, his pulse beat thin and fast. Be careful. The man, he's awake. Questo è il mio lavoro. Demon spoke, low and dry as a desert wind. This is my life's work. I knew enough to know that these lines signified words, somehow. The man in gold's voice trapped on this parchment. I sunk down further in my chair, weighed down by the pain of slavery. I knew what it meant to be under lock and key, allowed to be free only on the whim of my master. Demon meant to keep these words locked away, to add to his collection of souls. Better them than me. Mio Dio il Horai, he said, the book of hours. The rumors spoke true. We thought lost. Is it what you're looking for? I focused on reading Demon's blank face. He didn't answer, but continued to lift page after page, each turn showing the same, more and more black snakes squirming under my eyes. I had no idea what thoughts these little lines captured, but I didn't want to understand. I felt the beer roil in my stomach, threatening to come back up. The man of gold had been trapped onto these papers, imprisoned forever, with this foreigner to be the jailer. Pay me or I'll burn the vile thing. Demon's knife flashed, a blur of steel, and then a sharp line of heat at my neck. Demon held me, with death at my throat. I'll take this as a gift. Or will you trade with your blood? A swipe of his wrist, and I would leave this life, damned to hell for eternity. I should have read the signs. They were as clear as day, the offer too good to be true. I'd been betrayed. Slam! The door flew open and my master stood in the door, his stance unmistakable, his rage shaking him, and the sword dancing in his hand. Boy! My master shouted. How could you betray me? Steal from me! The blade lowered, pointing an accusation at me. Cos'è questo? Demon shouted to my master. I didn't know he stole. He will be punished. I thought of Evelyn, our life together. I couldn't go out like this. Please, no, help me. Suddenly, the manuscript moved, falling to the floor, catching Demon's attention, loosening his grip. I'll never know if it was a quirk of fate, or if the man in gold chose to help me, but I took the chance and grabbed the knife by the blade to pull it from my neck. I escaped his grasp, though my palms were sliced to shreds. I turned to see Eve wielding the platter like a hammer, swinging again and again at Demon. With Evelyn at my side, I could make an escape. Scooping up the manuscript, I grabbed an iron poker from the fire and ran at my master, standing in front of the only portal to my future. I had lived more of life in these few short hours than in all of my 20 years. I kissed a girl, escaped death, and now carry a priceless treasure in my hand. The stars were aligned with me today. I could not lose. Anger at all the scars, all the pain this man caused powered my arm. I swung my war axe for a killing blow to his head. My master took a simple step, dodged my weapon, and I felt his blade in my side. I'm invincible, I screamed as I fell out the front door, the manuscript tumbling from my hand. If only I could find my love, Evelyn, then we can meet our future together. I looked at my hands, covered in blood, my life pouring out of my side. As I fell, a flash of recognition. The man in gold. I opened my eyes to see Evelyn above me, her face more beautiful than anything I deserve. Is this heaven? No, not yet, she said. Soon enough. She picked up the manuscript from the ground. That, I gestured to it. The man in gold, he needs to be set free, I said, out of breath. That devil will take him. Men are the devil. I learned that where I was raised in the monastery, as a servant, and then her jaw clenched. A brother taught me my letters. Now I work for Demon. My world is small and hard. But when I open this, read these words, I release the spirit, and I escape this life, even if only for a few moments. Do you believe? He saved me. I closed my eyes. I saw the horses in the green pasture, golden fields of wheat. The man in gold stood with me as Evelyn read to us, her words flowing on a breeze. I am finally free. When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and rescues them from all their troubles. Petrified, you would never have noticed it if you weren't looking for it. That was precisely the point. The instructions given in my embroidery group had been clear enough. After nightfall, take a stroll on the second lane past the bakery, look for the unlit lamppost, and turn down that dark alley, they said in hushed voices as the pianist began playing in sudden loud fervor, by coincidence. Then you will see a mossy stone staircase, which you will descend, and at the end of it, there is a dim hallway. She lives through the set of green doors on the left. The doors are tall and French like my husband's mistress, but peeling and weathered. I can tell they were once painted a lovely shade of emerald green. Half of that green paint lies in small piles of flakes on the cobblestone. I debate knocking and decide instead to reach with false confidence for the rusted copper handle. It turns downward easily. A small bell rings and echoes. Welcome. On the poster she is grotesque, an example of how time and sin turn a person sour. But in person she has the kind of enduring beauty you can't tear your eyes away from. Do come in, darling. Don't be shy. Contrary to popular belief, I don't bite, although I can't say nothing here does. Her voice is like a wind chime, melodic and resonating, barely brushing over the crashing waves of her words. I wonder if I'm here too long, if that voice will drag me out to deep sea. Or did that only work on men in the myths? Take a seat, love. Yes, there is perfect. Would you like a cup of tea? Well, it's never too late for tea, is it now? I enjoy it late into the night myself, but maybe you've been raised more proper than that. Here, the cup is warm, not hot. If she noticed my shaking hands when reaching for it, she didn't say a word. It takes more than a few seconds for my eyes to adjust to the warmly lit room after a dark and shadowy street. Among her many talents, it cannot be said that she was a good decorator. The shabby boards of the walls are empty, but for an assortment of faded newspaper clippings from the highlights of her anonymous career. Obituaries, mostly. A tattered blue curtain with tassels hangs behind the armchair she's perched in, dividing off part of the room. Eccentrically painted shelves house arrays of books and bottles of objects my gaze prefers not to settle on. She would have been called a witch for her collections had she not already acquired numerous more colorful nicknames by the public. The only item of some value is worn loosely around her slender wrist, a heavy and ornate gold watch, the kind of thing that would make a petty thief's day to see glinting underneath a man's sleeve in the street. She catches me admiring it and smiles thinly, holding up her arm up to eye level. Isn't it a beauty? It was my first husband's, this watch. On the 10th anniversary of his death, I'm going to smash it to bits and melt the gold into a necklace for myself. I deserve a little gift from him, I think. Her laugh unnerves me, but I find myself too curious to be afraid. I politely say my condolences for her husband's death. Oh, darling, don't be sorry that that man is dead. The one good thing he did was to be the inspiration for the charity work I do. I haven't always done this. I used to be an actress, you know, a leading lady of the stage. Men would come from all over the city to see my shows, for I was beautiful then. Sometimes after the shows, they would approach me, usually blind drunk, complimenting my dress or what was underneath it, asking for a kiss or a drink or a night. And sometimes they didn't ask. My husband became my husband not because he asked, but because he damaged me. And he was rich enough to get away with it, and clever enough to know that marriage was my only option. She smooths down the skirt of her maroon dress, then looks up at me with a solemn expression I can't fully read. It isn't hard to believe she was once a sought-after woman. Though sunken in age, her cheeks are smooth and her face looks as though it was hand-carved out of porcelain by God. Her hair is twisted into a dark crown atop her head, secured with metallic pins. Her eyes are like a cat's, but not a house cat. No, definitely not. Like those of a tiger that has been left to go hungry for far too long. I will her to continue talking and not look at me with those eyes again. We sip our tea in unison, upholding our masquerade as ladies. She takes in a breath. He said he loved me, and at the beginning I believed it. He may have loved me. He certainly desired me. I think mostly he loved seeing the desire and jealousy of other men when he told them I was his wife. But that got old fast. So did I, in his eyes. When it had been a year and I still had not given him a child, I turned ugly to him, and he acted ugly accordingly. One night, he came home from the pub talking about how the other men's wives had filled their houses with children by now. He spoke of babies like cattle. Then he threatened that he ought to tell the whole town that I was secretly a whore and leave me. I should have kept quiet and obeyed and smothered him in his sleep, like a good wife. Instead, I promised him that as long as I was alive, I would never let a child be born cursed enough to have him as a father. I'm sure you know what happens next. Or otherwise, you wouldn't be here, my darling. She traces a scar on her chin that I hadn't noticed before, extending along her jaw to the start of the delicate bones of her neck. I imagine it snaking around the rest of her throat in a ring, strangling her pale skin, and my breath catches. It looks as if lightning struck her. She was struck, though not by something as rare as lightning. I instinctively touch my collarbone where I know without looking there is a ghastly bruise. My modest neckline covers it, but somehow it feels like she knows it's there. My mark of pain. I hope it goes away quickly so my husband does not think me unsightly. But then again, perhaps that will not be necessary. I nod at her meekly to show that I do know what happens next. I can't say whether he truly meant to kill me, but to hurt me, to wound me, to make my thoughts and words disappear in flames. He meant that with all his heart. The funny thing is, it was him who made my words true. Of course, he couldn't have known that I was with child. Even I did not know then. After, no one would ever get to know. I made a gravestone, although there was nothing to bury. And then, a month later, I buried my poor sick husband next to it, marked only with a slab that did not bear his name. Wealthy and beloved as his gold in his life, in death he became only stone. The disease had taken him so quickly that there was no time for anyone to save him. Shame on chance to take him from this world so young. Got him like poison, essentially. The porcelain around her eyes cracks faintly in amusement. I have nothing to say in response, my mind stuck on the picture of a crude gravestone smaller than it should be. Now, love, how would you like your tragedy to occur? The widows in my town all chose differently. Most agree that the worst methods are only to be used for the worse husbands, but sometimes there is no rhyme or reason to it. After all, all's fair in love and war. Millions of second and third and fourth thoughts crossed my mind on the way here, but now those voices are silent, and there is only mine and hers, and the input of the hissing wind outside. Well, what will it be? In 2 weeks, It will happen. On the way home after a day of work, my husband will feel a bout of hopelessness that gives him a nudge to hurl himself off of the local bridge. The river below is not a kind one, especially to those who never learned to swim. He will have been drunk, since he often is, and everyone knows how he gets when he's drunk. No one will discuss a death as taboo as taking your own life. My children and I will cry and wear black for weeks, though no longer than what is expected. At the same time, the black of our bruises will fade. He won't be missed very much, really. Perhaps that French woman will miss him, but she would have met the man that I knew soon enough. I will decide to raise my children in the countryside alone, and we will be happy. I cannot say yet whether I will regret it. The final time I will see the woman's wild tiger's eyes, she will tell me that not once has she regretted anything in her life. She will say that it was a pleasure to do it, and fearfully I will believe her. Oh, it really is getting late, love. Your family must be at home expecting you. I reply that they are, and I thank her for her kindness, nervously reaching to shake her hand. How much blood has coated it? On the posters, they say she has killed 3 men, but I know these were simply the times she wanted it enough to make it gruesome. The posters also envision her as grotesque, which means that they have not ever seen her, or the mark on her jaw from her fall after being struck by lightning. The posters know nothing. The men know nothing. We women must stick together, yes? The image of my young daughter appears and consumes my mind. I would do everything in my power to ensure she never has to know the instructions to get here. There will be no scars for my girl to trace. I will make sure of that. I nod and drop the woman's unassuming porcelain hand. Beneath the sound of her wind chime voice is a softer noise I hadn't paid attention to before, almost like a breeze rustling through dying trees, overlaid with the humming of the earth. It is separate from the wind and the rushing of my blood. She notices my piqued interest, and rather than say anything, stands, chuckles, and regally draws back the tattered blue curtain behind her. In view now is a cage filled with twisting and writhing scaled bodies, hissing and competing with each other for air. They move as one, a trembling monster of green. I step back in sudden horror. She isn't looking at me, but I see her eyes flash ravenously. You don't have to worry about them, darling. Their venom is reserved for the venomous, shadowed intentions. 3 women missing so far. 3 women in just 6 months. The daily news has become obsessed with the narrative, smothering us in stories from every angle. It's all anyone is talking about, since everyone has an opinion. It's always the husband, the shopkeeper says matter-of-factly, crossing her arms. Did you hear that she turned down a colleague for a date? Sounds like he was bitter about it, murmurs the waitress at the local cafe. Maybe if she didn't sleep around so much, she wouldn't have gotten herself into trouble, says the barkeep, waggling a knowing eyebrow my way as I pretend to nod in agreement. Plenty of leads, a few arrests, but still no dice. 1 missing woman is a tragedy. 2 is cause for panic. 3, there's near hysteria. Businesses are closing their doors well before dusk, and schools have moved to home learning via video calls. By the time night falls, an unenforced curfew has rendered the streets deserted. No one walks home alone anymore, except for me. I don't have a choice. I've been following the same path through the city for 3 months. I'm taking care I keep to the well-lit routes, always looking over my shoulder, making sure I'm fully aware of my surroundings and paying close attention to the few people who dare to walk along the main road with me. I try not to look too nervous as I clutch my handbag tightly to my side and walk quicker than usual. Before I left, I set my smartwatch to monitor my heart rate rather than show the time. The beat is faster than usual, as it has been every time I've stepped out into the night for the past 3 months. There's something different about this evening, though. I can feel it in the crisp air. Tension courses through my veins, settling uneasily in my stomach. The darkness is almost suffocating, weighing down upon me as I walk away from the center, the distant hum of traffic fading as I turn down a quieter road. A lamplight flickers above me, highlighting the cracked pavement in a strobe effect. Not that I would wear anything else given the circumstances, but I'm glad I'm wearing flats tonight, considering the amount of rain we've been having. Imagine twisting my ankle because my heels caught on a dodgy bit of tarmac hidden by a puddle. And there it is, a footstep. I spin around, facing the danger behind me head on. Am I sure? The night remains almost perfectly still, aside from the flicker of movement from leaves still clinging to the almost empty branches in the trees above. Tilting my head, I listen, focusing all my energy into honing in on that specific sound. 10 seconds pass. I hear nothing out of the ordinary. On the contrary, it's deathly quiet. Slowly, I turn around and continue my journey, sneaking a quick glance down at my watch. 110 beats per minute, getting faster now. The slap of my boots against the wet pavement echoes down the narrow street. The only sound aside from my hot breath escaping my lips, forming plumes of smoke as I pick up the pace towards my destination. So close, but yet miles away somehow. Shadows claw at my heels, casting alien shapes that don't appear to be from this plane. The endless walls of the brick terraces on either side of me reach long into the sky and beyond, leaving nowhere for me to go but ahead or back the way I came. My head snaps up. This time, I'm sure. I hear him. The unmistakable sound of footsteps, rhythmic and deliberate. I reckon he's about 10 meters behind me. Far enough that I could outrun him for the moment. I'm confident in that. I quicken my pace, shivering from a potent mix of cold and adrenaline. Everything hinges on my next few decisions, and I fight to keep my wits about me. The metal gates of Terrier's Park loom tall to my left, and I follow where the path splits into the yawning gateway, away from the streetlights, away from the city, into silence and ink-black shadows. The moonlight illuminates the slick path, the earthy scent of rotting leaves filling the dead air. There's no wind anymore. Maybe it's holding its breath, waiting anxiously to see how things pan out for me. As my mysterious companion and I distance ourselves from society, his footsteps close the gap between us. Finally, I'm aware of my heart pounding against my chest, the beat thundering in my ears. My eyes, wide and wild, flit down to my watch. The numbers are as high as I've ever seen them. It's interesting how difficult it is to distinguish excitement from fear, don't you think? In fact, in a lot of ways they are remarkably similar. Both can heighten your awareness and focus. Senses sharpen, energy surges, thrill and threat merge and blur. My heart rate is the same when I experience both emotions, as if they're interchangeable. He's closing in. I feel his menacing aura maybe 3 meters behind me, just as we reach an area with bushes. We're alone, completely alone. Perfect. Bag already unzipped in anticipation, I slide my hand in and wrap my fingers around the handle of my gun. 3 months it's taken me to catch his attention. 3 months to make sure the cat would become the mouse. Finger tight on the trigger, I slow my pace, welcoming his breath on my neck. Before he can raise the hammer above his head, though, I whirl around like a dust devil, eager to look into his eyes. I watch as it dawns upon him that, in his arrogance, He's neglected to account for the fact that there's more than one serial killer in the area. I inhale the cold sweat of fear that pinpricks his brow as he realizes that after tonight, only one of us will be left standing, and it isn't going to be him. Blind panic sets in, and he runs. I make sure he doesn't get far, son of Satan. I awoke to a bright light streaming through a crack in one of the wooden boards I had put up in a paranoid, booze-infused haze. It was June, and the heat was stifling. My mouth was the kind of dry where your cheeks and lips stick to your teeth, the leftover taste of alcohol offensive. I sat up slowly, the usual nausea kicking in, my head pounding, room spinning. I looked down at my shaky hands, trying to steady myself as I half rolled off the couch. A sweaty silhouette of me left behind, my shirt stuck to me. I stumbled to the kitchen, only allowing one eye open to keep things in focus, my head down as I waited for the kettle to boil, impatient as the usual hangxiety kicked in. I knew my drinking was a problem, it always has been. But as I'm nearing 40 now, the mornings are becoming more unpleasant and unmanageable. But I know I'll never stop. I put 2 big scoops of coffee and boiling water into a mug, topping it off with a shot of vodka. I downed it and made another, willing the shakes to stop, my eyes blurry and stomach churning. I took the second mug back to the couch and turned on the TV, slowly coming back to life. My mind was quieter today, a numbness over the usual paranoia or anger that resides in me. Sometimes I think it's a darkness, straight from the pits of hell, the angel on one shoulder missing. As long as I could remember, I had been plagued with dark thoughts, a curse passed down from my abusive father. A life of isolation and self-sabotage, sending me spiraling further into this abyss over the years. Some days, I think I can snap out of it, or have a small voice telling me I need help, and that maybe there's still hope for me. But this had just become a way of life for me now, my norm. I had come to accept it. Alcohol and Netflix were my only friends. I sustained an easy work-from-home job that only stole a few hours each day. My manager didn't bother me, and I didn't bother him. He didn't care as long as I hit the numbers, which I always did. It didn't pay much, but kept a roof over my head and supplied my vices. I flicked straight to the news channel like I did every day. There had been a string of murders in the city, and now they were saying, there is a pattern suggesting that it's the work of serial killer. I shivered, watching as they wheeled a 6th victim in a body bag, a one-way trip to the morgue. My head pounded again. I swallowed some paracetamol with a swig of vodka, not taking my eyes off the TV. The killings had been brutal. I watched along each time with a morbid curiosity, like I was watching a fictional Netflix series about serial killers, almost forgetting that these were people living in the same city I am. All victims were female, early 20s, normally Good Samaritan types, people with a squeaky clean record who wouldn't have even stolen a pack of gum in their short life. Most were religious and attended church on a Sunday. I'd be safe, standing at 6 feet, fashioning a Jesus-length beard and enough petty crimes on my record to piss off anyone in law enforcement. The media were raving about the symbolism the killer left behind and had even given him a nickname, Son of Satan. It doesn't quite have the same ring as Jack the Ripper or the Zodiac Killer, but they were just scratching the surface of what he does and what he is capable of. This guy was different. According to reporters, he stalks his victims over the course of 6 days, leaving satanic symbolism in his midst. Never leaves a trace of evidence, other than gifts of animal bones or a pentagram, sometimes an upside-down cross, all with no fingerprints or so much as a wisp of hair. The symbols were the only thing that changed from kill to kill. The 6-day stalk, bondage of the hands and feet, and 6 stab wounds to the heart were always consistent. I shivered again. On the dark web, some crime scene photos were leaked and spread vastly around social media. The bloody sight, something out of a horror movie. I chugged another glass of vodka. The police had nothing. They made an educated guess that it could be a male in their 30s or 40s. Probably some crazy religious guy that they had depicted as some skinny, sad sod who lives in their mother's basement. I rolled my eyes and half chuckled, a wheezy sound that made me cough. One thing they all agreed on was that the killer was clever and meticulous. He taunted his victims and he taunted police, never leaving a trace. All they could do was warn people to be safe and on guard. If anyone experienced any stalking or hints that they were next, were to report to police straight away. Boy, are they not ready for the amount of calls they're about to receive. The fear the media have installed does half the job for the killer. I rolled my eyes again, pouring another glass, slightly amused by the stupidity of law enforcement and media. I turned it off and opened my laptop to get on with some work before heading out to the shop. The bills aren't going to pay themselves. Completing work in record time, I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, then finally brushed the rancid taste away, swallowing some toothpaste for good measure. I looked up at the disheveled guy staring back. Hair awry, bags hung heavy around my dark pinpoint-like eyes, the spit of my father. I inwardly groaned, my heart palpating slightly. I changed into some dark tracksuits, tamed my hair with cap and donned some sunglasses. I whistled as I walked outside, sweat pouring from my skin, the back of my neck clammy. I gritted my teeth with discomfort, while the sun beat down harder, the whistling a distraction. The streets were mostly empty, a few dog walkers and cars dotted around. I found myself at the shop and enjoyed the cool feel of air conditioning, taking a long breath in. I picked up the essentials: vodka, fags, and instant noodles. The economy making every transaction feel painful. I felt that rage again as I tapped my card and stormed out, trying to calm my thoughts, and drank the first bottle on my way back. Needing a pit stop, I paused on a bench, starting on my second bottle and chain smoking, until I felt sick and black spots started to cloud my sight. My head hurt as evil thoughts and feelings flooded me. I eventually stumbled home, unsure how I got there and why it was so dark out already. I tripped over my own feet and crashed onto the couch face first, full blackness taking over. I was in and out of consciousness for several days, time missing as I looked at my watch and realized nearly a week had gone by. I really need to stop drinking. I went to the kitchen. Coffee, vodka, couch. The routine continued. I turned the TV on, and yet another murder had occurred, less than a mile from my home. Same pattern for the most part. I smirked and flicked to the next channel. Headline: Son of Satan breaks pattern. My eyebrows creased and my heart rate picked up. Killer stabs victim 6 times to the abdomen, left the house in disarray. Forensics have bagged new evidence. That couldn't be right. My father's voice boomed in my head. I switched to another channel. Son of Satan copycat killer. New information has come to light as detectives connect current killings with a string of murders with similar symbolism and pattern that happened 30 years ago in the countryside. Killer was never found. The voice boomed louder. I ran to the bathroom to throw up and realized my clothes were soaked with blood. I fucked up. My father would be writhing in his grave. His idiot son carrying on his legacy gets caught because he can't handle his booze. I threw up again. Panic rose and I gripped my chest as I struggled to breathe, spots of lights in my vision. The room was closing in. I turned on the shower, holding onto the sink with one hand, ripping off my clothes with the other, before allowing the scalding hot water to wash away my sins. "I'm sorry," I screamed, the disappointment of my dead dad all too much. I sobbed on the floor of the shower, shame and guilt ripping me apart. Red and blue lights flashed past my window, snapping me awake, and I stood up, getting ready run, fight or flight kicking in. Bang, bang, bang! My front door rattled. Panic-stricken, I scrambled for my clothes and slipped, the alcohol haze wearing off. My head hurt as it hit the sink on my way down. I couldn't move. The room was spinning. A louder bang. Footsteps. I faded out. Better fires. "Dear Jay, I lit the mailbox on fire when I saw you kissing M. Others told me that when feeling too much, one might hurt oneself. There might be cuts along the arm or starvation. I had no inclination toward self-harm. From a very young age, I understood that the world does enough to you. Why do any more to yourself? I saw you kissing M behind the cafetorium, and I ran all 7 blocks home. On the way, I saw the Gozer's blue mailbox, and I knew it had to burn. One match around the base, and it went up quickly along with whatever mail was inside of it. The red flag was up, and I did it anyway. Later that night, I attended a slumber party and started the rumor that you had done it, that I often saw you lighting ants on fire with a magnifying glass as though that was a natural origin for someone who would eventually begin setting better fires. Some of the girls believed me. Some didn't care. One told me that you kissed her after her shift at Pizza Grace, and your mouth tasted like a fountain drink. I watched her after she fell asleep. I visualized her waking up to find her hair on fire, but I didn't do it. I didn't want to hurt anyone, not even you. When I asked you to the dance, you told me that you'd already agreed to go with G, even though that was a lie. I knew it was a lie, because I knew enough about you by then. When you lied, your left eyebrow would twitch. Maybe it still does. Do you still lie? Would you tell me if you did? I told you that I understood and wished you well. I knew that you were going to ask G as soon as I was out of sight. Then, if you changed your mind, you'd simply pick someone else to bring. What you were never going to do is show up with me. Not me. The girl who had to wear baggy tops to hide how much she developed between sophomore and junior year. Not me. The know-it-all who the teachers had stopped calling on, because she always knew the path Napoleon took on his first campaign and the first 15 numbers of pi. I don't think intelligence was a turnoff for you. On the contrary, I think you wanted me to be smarter. You wanted me to be so smart that kissing me would be like allowing dark matter down your throat to rip you apart from the inside. You held me to a different standard. I'm sorry, Jay. I didn't know that's what was going on. I thought you just wanted to kiss the prettiest girls in the school. I never investigated what your deeper motives might have been. The day you told me you couldn't take me to the cotton candy dance, I went to the greeting card store in town and set fire to all the get well cards. They were at the back of the store, and there was only one cashier working. I made quite a pile, struck the match, and walked right out. By the time the smoke alarm went off, I was already watching from down the street. Lucky for me, greeting card establishments don't have security cameras. I went to a pool party the following weekend and told everyone there that you'd confessed to me a year ago that you hated greeting cards. Seeds were planted. A freshman who was at the party told me that you'd been putting removable tattoos in her locker. Hearts with knives in them, and mermaids who refused to smile. She pulled down her bathing suit bottom and showed me where she'd placed one of the tattoos. It looked like Joan of Arc tied up and suffering her great punishment. "I think you're right," she whispered to me in between bites of a burnt hamburger. "I think he might be obsessed with fires. Why else would he give me this? The world will give you all the answers you want if you know exactly how to phrase the questions." On the way home from the pool party that day, I saw you in your front yard, mowing the lawn without a shirt on. I waved to you, and you waved back. You flexed for me, and then laughed. I saw a clean line of sweat going down your back to the gray t-shirt that was tucked into your red shorts. I wanted to cover myself in grass and let you run over me. It took me a moment to realize that my hand was still raised in a frozen greeting. You had stopped my time. You'd put me in a deep freeze. Only one thing could dissolve it. The day before graduation, I burned down the school. Part of me knew that eventually it would come to that. I'd used my allowance every week to buy kerosene, matches, bottles, rags, and any other accelerant I could find. The man at the hardware store questioned me about it early on, but I told him that teenage girls were using these types of things to help with our hormones. He seemed perplexed, but no man over 40 wants to know why teenage girls are doing any of the things they do. The next time I came in, he'd set aside some paint thinner for me. It was on sale, 2 for 1. That's what I used in the second floor bathrooms. There was no commencement that year, no caps, no gowns. The only thing thrown up in the air was the spray of a fireman's hose. Students gathered around the periphery of the school. Some cried. I held my homeroom teacher as she asked why anyone would do something like this. I knew that the two of you were writing inappropriate notes to each other between periods. She must have justified it by telling herself that you were mature for your age. And maybe she was right. I try not to condemn anyone if I can help it. The worst condemnation of all has already occurred. The day of the school fire was also the day of the harvest. Everything I'd put into the ground was ready to be reaped. Rumors about your love of starting fires were too widespread to ignore, even though, in many ways, you were the town's favorite son. Your father had been the star linebacker for the football team back when he was in school. Your mother was valedictorian. You were going to do great things, and you were going to go far, and you were going to kiss every girl you wanted to kiss, and never give me more than a wave or a flex of your muscles only to laugh at me for staring. All of that got burned up and turned to rubbish. You went to jail for the very first time. When you got out, you couldn't find a job. Your parents disowned you. You couldn't even find a woman gullible enough to take you in, because by then, you reeked of smoke. Soon, you were dealing drugs and holding up food marts and gas stations. I lost track of how often you were in and out of prison, but I know you're there now, and I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry for the part I played. I'm sorry for every match I struck. I'm sorry you didn't see that I could have learned more. I could have caught on faster. I could have bloomed had you only allowed me some light. When you get out, I plan to be waiting for you. I'll pick you up and you can come stay with me. You can mow my lawn. You don't have to give me anything, just the respect I was owed back when we were children. Back when you thought a little cold water would put me out. You never knew that I was electric, did you, Jay? You never tasted my grease. You never thought to smother me. A little cold water. What was that going to do? I'll be standing at the gates when they release you. I'll bring the cigarettes you like. I'll light the first one. Then, I want a kiss. A nice, long kiss. I want to taste the emission. I want you to fill me up with smoke until I feel as though I'm never going to breathe again, drowning inside. What time do you call this, Maggie? I know. I'm sorry. The traffic. Don't give me that. You're never late. I had things to do. Things? Like what? Jimmy, don't start. What's with the sunglasses? They're just sunglasses. Take them off. Jimmy, please, take them. Office of fine. What the hell happened? It's nothing. Damn it. Who gave you the shiner? Jimmy, leave it alone. Was it Neil? Number Terry then. Jimmy? It was, wasn't it? Fine? Yes, it was Terry. That son of a... Why? Jenkins. Keep your voice down. You don't know about my problems, sir. We don't want to hear about your private life, Jenkins. I didn't come here to fight, Jimmy. Then why did you come? Because we need to talk. Talk about what? United States. Us? There is no us while I'm stuck in here. You're wrong. There's still an us. Doesn't feel like it. You've been different lately. How would you even know that? I see it. The way you look at me, or don't. The way you talk, or don't. I'm tired, Jimmy. I bet you are, love. It's not easy by myself, but you manage. Barely. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Keep what up? This life. Alone. You're not alone. That's what it feels like. You've got the kids. They're not you. Then wait for me. Wait. Jimmy, you've 4 more years. So? You knew that when I got sentenced. I didn't know it would feel like this. Feel like what? Like I'm drowning inside. You're stronger than this, Maggie. Maybe I'm not. Don't say that. It's the truth. You're just having a bad day. It's not just a day, it's every day. You want me to feel sorry for you? Jimmy, don't make this worse. I'm not the one making it worse. Why did Terry hit you? He thought I was cheating on you. Cheating? With Neil? That's what he said. Are you kidding me? I didn't do anything, Jimmy. And Terry thought it was okay to hit you over a rumor? It's not just that. Then what is it? I don't know. Maybe he thinks I owe him. Owe him? For what? For keeping an eye out for me and the kids. That's rich, coming from that piece of... Jenkins, I'm warning you. Stay out of this, sir. I see your sort every day, Jenkins, and hear how doing time affects families. You don't know nothing about me and my brood, boss. Yes, but I know how kids drift with absent fathers. When I want your opinion, I'll ask for it. Touch a nerve, did I, Jenkins? Jimmy, stop. He's not wrong. What? Bernie's angry. Linda's angry. They're lost, Jimmy. It's not like I abandoned them. Maybe not, but you're the one who took the fall. I didn't want you and the kids dragged into it. I can't do this on my own anymore. Maggie, don't. Don't what? Tell you the truth? Neil and Terry were supposed to have my back. Instead, they're wrecking my family. You wrecked it, Jimmy, when you got caught. Again. You think I wanted that post office job to go sideways? It didn't just go sideways. It exploded. I was the one who got burned, Maggie. And the rest of us didn't? I did it for you. You always say that. I mean it. And what about Linda? What about her? She's in trouble at school, Jimmy. Trouble? She got caught smoking. Not Linda? Yes, Jimmy. Linda. At least it wasn't weed. What makes you think that? God damn it. Why didn't you tell me? And say what? That I can't handle my own daughter? Maybe I could have talked to her and told her. from inside? How do you reckon that'd work out? Linda listens to me. She misses you, Jimmy. I miss her too. She's angry. At me, at the world. Linda feels abandoned. But I haven't forgotten about her. She doesn't see it that way. What am I supposed to do, Maggie? Maybe you should have thought about that before taking on another job. I didn't plan for things to go wrong, but they always do. This was supposed to be my last job. That's what you said last time. I mean it this time. Linda doesn't believe in you anymore. Don't say that. It's true. She was a daddy's girl, and now she's street smart, and now she's fallen in with a bad crowd. I hate missing her grow up. Then why do you keep ending up in here? I don't know. Yes, you do. It's the life, Maggie. Then change it. You know it's not easy. It's easier than losing your family. You make it sound so simple, Maggie. I'm serious, Jimmy. It's your choice. You're giving up on us? I'll survive. Without me, without Neil, without Terry, without all of this. Give me a chance. I'll fix it. I don't think you can. I can. I will. Jimmy. Maggie, I swear to you, I'll get out and I'll make it right. How? I'll get out of the life. For you. For Linda. I've heard it all before. This time I mean it. You better, Jimmy. Maggie, there's something else, isn't there? What do you mean? The bruise, the sunglasses? You've been crying. There's more. It's Bernie. Bernie's tough. He'll be fine. He wasn't fine last night when he crashed his motorbike. What happened? He's in the West Middlesex. Why didn't you tell me sooner? You've enough to worry about. But he's my son, Maggie. Your son? He barely talks about you. What do you mean You two never got along. That's not true. It is, Jimmy. He's angry, just like Linda. Is he going to be all right? The doctors think so. What happened? He saw the bruise. He got angry. Went out on his bike to blow off steam and lost control. Because of Terry? Because of everything, Jimmy. Maggie, Don't. Just stop. I'll make it right. You keep saying that. I mean it. Then prove it. Time's up, people. Let's be having you. Maggie, please, don't give up on us. You know I can't promise that. You can't leave me now. Goodbye, Jimmy. I'll change. We'll see. Hamster owl. Trigger warning. Crime scene, murder, suggestion of sexual violence. Douglas hadn't felt his stomach stir on the job for years, not since he was green out of the academy. Something about the blood spatter against the kids' toys, though. It had sent his head spinning, dizziness threatening to undermine his hard-won reputation. The bright, dancing geometric shapes that adorned the red-stained sheets and curtains were not helping matters. Thankfully, the girl's body had already been removed. He averted his gaze to the ceiling and traced the lines of the Artex pattern while taking deep breaths and composing himself. Putting his heavy case down in the doorway, he steeled his will and finally stepped inside. Douglas methodically placed his feet on the clean areas of carpet, stepping over the red smears that had been spread all over the room. Slowly, he made his way over to the grim-faced detective, who was already surveying the scene. "If you're gonna lose your lunch, Doug, please do it outside," Bishop remarked, not looking up from where he crouched, picking through the youngster's possessions with the blunt end of a pen. "I'm okay. It just got me for a second. Not seen one this bad since '87 and the Dilby murders down in Reading. I'll be all right." It's a damn shame, that's for sure. Sweet girl. going by all the stuffed animals and posters. My kid's got a thing for boy bands too, he said, gesturing around at the walls that looked like they'd been at the business end of a meat grinder. You've certainly got your work cut out for you, ready for a long night. Absolutely, sir. It'll be worth every coffee to nail whatever sick son of a bitch could do something like this, Douglas said, his muscles turning from jelly to iron at the resolve his own words invoked. Good. Well, I'm done here for now. Do your thing and get me the results as fast as you can. The father is in the back of a car already, but he's denying it all, doing a grand job of playing the distraught, loving parent. So, I'll need whatever you can get me to pin him, Bishop said as he pulled off a pair of sweaty latex gloves and threw them into a hazmat bag in the hallway. Ever consider it might not have been him and you're torturing a grieving parent? Douglas asked to his retreating back. Come on, Doug. How long you been doing this? It's always the dad, the detective said, turning when he reached the top of the stairs. I'd start with the machete stuck in the bed head if I were you. But hey, I'm not the scientist. Douglas took up his large case, unclasped it, and opened it wide on the floor of the hallway outside the girl's bedroom door. He pressed his shoulders against one wall to let a beat officer past and swore under his breath at the close confines. It was almost easier in the woods, although the results were undoubtedly better from inside a sealed home. He snapped on his own gloves, grabbed a Sharpie and a handful of plastic bags and went to work. With a roll of his eyes, he grabbed the machete first. Of course, that was marked vital. Then he gathered all the jewelry she'd been wearing and had been left behind by the morticians. Most of it was plastic, brightly colored and in the shape of butterflies or flowers. He pulled hairs and fibers from the bed and carpet, then combed the room from top to bottom for any dropped items. Nothing turned up. Sheets, clothes, carpet, and curtain swatches all went into larger bags. Even those fundamentals took hours, mostly because he was more fastidious than most. He had lost count of the cases that had been won thanks to his diligence. Having worked with Bishop for almost a decade, he knew all too well that whichever way it went, a grieving father's future rested on his work alone. The detective had already found his man. Sipping a hot coffee from a cardboard cup, he scanned the room from its center. Taking a break had the tendency to reveal more than the close-up work. Sometimes you had to take a step back and think. He marked a Blockbuster video on the desk. He would fill out the forms to get it returned, but he doubted the shop would ever see it again. Once they saw the news, they would probably refuse it anyway. What looked like her diary was tucked under the edge of the mattress. He made a mental note to grab that, and in the same vein, thought to check for any hidey holes in vents or behind furniture. Girls of an age stashed plenty of secrets. His eyes fell on the mountain of stuffed toys, wedged against the dresser and covered in a mist of dried blood droplets. He had avoided it until then, worried it might set off his queasy reaction a second time. While forcing his gaze to wander across it, two beady yellow eyes caught his attention. With a smirk, he put down his coffee, quickly reapplied the gloves, and strode over to greet them. "Well, look at you," he said, pulling out what could only be described as a hamster owl. The freakish chimera stared back at him, almost with its own intent. "Furby, right?" "Oh! Woo-woo! Whoa!" The demented toy yelled as it came to life in his hands, batting its eyelids and twitching its ears. He almost threw it across the room in surprise, but managed to control the impulse and, holding it at a full arm's length, set it down on the girl's desk. "Damn thing!" he yelled to a series of chuckles from the officers stationed outside. He went back to the list of tasks he had assigned himself, but throughout his bagging and tagging, he was constantly assaulted by an unintelligible babbling. The cursed doll would go quiet, and then out of nowhere, at high volume, holler at Douglas. After the third time of jumping out of his skin, he stalked back to the desk in a fury. "I remember the ads for you," he said through gritted teeth, fully aware he was now talking to it. "Remember," it interrupted. "Yes, remember. Very clever. I remember that you are supposed to be smart. Hell, I'm pretty sure there was a ban on you being brought into the station, in case you could listen in on things you shouldn't. Something about spy software or AI even." "Remember!" the Furby squawked again. You don't seem so smart to me. Just a damn novelty. Do me a favor and shut up!" Douglas roared. He turned his back on it, not wanting to waste any more time trying to figure out how to turn it off. He was almost done and was feeling the impatience of the late hour and the clouded thinking it brought. Yet, before he could take a second step, he spun around at the words the toy belted at his back. "You're mine, bitch." He stood frozen, head cocked to one side and looking into its demon-like eyes. Surely not. "What did you say? Did you remember?" He ventured, not sure if he was pushing the limits of what was reasonable. "Remember, you're mine, bitch. You can't prance around naked in your window like that and expect me not to want you. I might be your neighbor, but I'm still a man." Douglas shook his head with raised eyebrows, let out a sigh of disbelief, and bagged the toy. He marked it as vital. Hopefully it would be enough.